Hello guys, welcome to another weekly breakdown video. Today I'll be breaking down the last week of May, as you can see, starting from 26th of May 2025. Before starting the weekly breakdown, let me quickly show you the news. So this was a very attractive week to trade because of the news. Look, watch the news. There is literally, you can say, no news. Monday, Tuesday no news, Wednesday FOMC meeting minutes, and Thursday there is New York session news, and Friday also there is New York session news. So also on Friday there was German prelim CPI on Euro USD, so Euro USD didn't make sense to trade. So yeah, this was one of the best weeks that I had in recent times, right? So previous week the market was so bullish. No, I anticipated the market to continue to go up to target the draw of liquidity that I've taken. So on the weekly time frame, I've marked the weekly supply demand fair value gap market structure shift targets, you guys know. So the weekly bias is clearly bullish according to how this candle closed, and on DXY the weekly bias is clearly bearish according to how that candle closed right there. And it's also a Morobuzu candlestick or not? Yes, and it's also a Morobuzu candlestick right here. As you can see, a Morobuzu candlestick is a candlestick that forms due to huge amount of selling or buying happening with whatever bias you are trading, right? In this case, my bias on DXY was bearish, so a huge amount of selling happened last week, so it made sense to continue to sell in the next week. But nobody knows what's gonna happen in the markets. Nobody can predict the market. All you can do is adapt and follow your rules in the market, right? So on the daily time frame now, starting the weekly breakdown, going on Monday, my bias was aligning with the weekly bias being bullish and weekly bias being bearish. And also on DXY, my bias was aligning on the weekly and the daily, so that is why I decided to trade on Monday. So Monday I decided to take a trade, meaning if I get any. So let me show you if I did got a trade or not. So Monday my bias was bullish, and also the Asian range was bullish. So whenever the bias is bullish in higher time frames and also the Asian range is bullish, that is when I tend to get a counter bias trade or a continuation trade. In this case, nothing happened. The Asian high never got swept, so my setup never appeared. And I've also written a call out. You can pause it and watch it if you want. Monday was not a day for me, no setup, because the Asian range setup was not there, so I didn't force anything. So now going on Tuesday, on the daily time frame, you can clearly see now going on Tuesday my bias is clearly bearish to fill up this daily fair value gap right here. So this was the daily fair value gap I was targeting, and if I go to EU, my bias is more cleaner on EU. As you can see, Monday closed as a bearish candle, finding resistance from some sort of supply right here. And EU was more cleaner than GU. Even on GU there is no liquidity to target to the upside. Also the price is at its all-time high, whereas on EU the price action is more cleaner than GU. That's what I'm trying to say. So going on Tuesday, I'm looking for sales to target this daily fair value gap. And yeah, on the H4 time frame the price was in this bullish solidified range. So yes, the price has a chance to come down to this H4 demand zone before buying. So I was anticipating that, and yeah, H4 could have continued to the upside, and I would not be shocked. But the price cannot go up forever or cannot go down forever, right? It needs to come down to go up to come down, because it needs liquidity, and right now the liquidity is present to the downside. So that is why on Tuesday it made so much of sense for me to look for sales. And this trade I've also journaled this very thoroughly, so I will just show you a quick overlook. I will not show you how I took this trade, the lower time frame analysis and all. This trade was a winner on London session and also on New York session, as you can see. So Tuesday was a winning trade for me. The bias was bearish, Asian range was also bearish. I have explained this video in my other videos, so you can watch that if you want. So Tuesday was a banger, as you can see. So now going on Wednesday, right? So going on Wednesday, my bias was again bearish, remains bearish, because I trade with the daily bias. I trade what the price shows me. So right now the price is showing me that it has higher probability of going down and filling up the daily fair value gap rather than going up. So DXY has filled up this fair value gap right here, and now it is clearly bullish. So going on Wednesday, I will be looking for buys on DXY and sells on GBP USD. So even on Wednesday also I took a trade which was buys. You might be arguing, why did you buy when the bias is bearish? Look, even if the bias is bearish, the price first needs to go up before going down, right? So my bias was bearish, the Asian range was bearish. The main the main reason why I took a buy on Wednesday was the Asian range. The Asian range was bearish, the higher time frame was bearish. So before making the move to the downside with the overall higher time frame trend, the price needs to go up and sweep some liquidity. So keeping that information, knowing that information, having that information in mind, I was looking for a buy opportunity at my time window if I get the M5 change of character equilibrium entry. So on this day, it happened exactly how I am saying right now. So that is why I've taken this trade. Yes, the overall higher time frame bias was on the daily bias was bearish, but I got my setup to target the supply zone to sell, continue selling to the downside. So that buy, I have taken that buy, and that's totally fine. There are people who trade the counter bias, and even me, if I get a setup, I trade. So on Wednesday there was no news FOMC meeting minutes, which was not at our timing, so it doesn't affect me. So let me quickly show you the trade once. So this trade I have taken after the Asian low sweep. As you can see, my bias was bearish, Asian range was bearish, right? So it doesn't make sense for me to sell for a continuation model if the setup is not there. So continuation setup was not there. I was looking for a sell from this H1 supply zone. So the Asian low got swept, the M5 change of character equilibrium entry got I got my entry model right here. 8 pips stop loss, targeted the targeted the H1 supply zone right here to sell. Even the sell worked. Here you can see my buy worked at my time window. I have taken this buy because it happened at my time window, right? There are people who have taken this sell, like Sal Sanchez and all. So both are correct at this point. Even the buyers here and the sellers here both have their different edge in the markets, and both are correct at this point. So Wednesday was a winning day for me. So thought of just showing it to you guys so that even you can apply it in your trading. So don't stick to one thing, like stick to one strategy, but you be very adaptable in the markets, bro. The markets are not going to give your A-class setups every single time, right? So you have to adapt to the market. Doesn't mean that you need to trade every day. No, the less is more in trading, right? So the less trades you take, the more money you make. So now going on Thursday, my bias remains bearish according to how this candle closed. Even Thursday, I have taken a trade and it was a loss. Let me quickly show you why. So Thursday was Thursday my bias was bearish again. There was a demand zone here, there was a fair value gap right here. So if I go on DXY, now on DXY there is a daily fair value gap here to fill. The bias is bullish on Thursday, but it closed as a very bearish candle, a Morobuzu candle. I don't know why, what happened, but this supply zone here was not respected. As you can see, this supply zone liquidity was swept, and then a huge move to the downside happened, and also this fair value gap on the daily time frame. This was a very unexpected move, to be honest. I would have not expected this move at all. So going on Thursday, my bias was clearly bearish, right? So let me quickly show you the news. Sorry, let me quickly show you the trade, how I've taken and what loss, why, where, when. So on the H1 time frame, you can see the same concept that I've added on Wednesday. That was the H1 supply zone in the Asian range. Why? This supply zone here was valid because the supply zone in the New York session was very far away. This supply zone was only valid because the New York session supply zone was very far away, but on Thursday the New York supply zone was very close. So it made sense for me. Yes, the price could have made a move from here and I could have won this trade, right? But also this was a little bit overcommitted. I overcommitted a trade here. This loss could have been avoided, to be honest. I could have waited for this New York session supply zone to be mitigated, but no problem. A loss is a loss. I take it like I should take it. And yeah, I've also journaled this trade. This was a genuine loss. It was at my time window and also the time window, right? Whenever in the London session, whenever the London session is starting at my time window and my bias is bearish, I'm looking for sells. But the London session tends to go up, making bullish move. That is when it ends up going up. Like in this case, I have seen it so many times, and taking an entry at the end of the London session, as you can see at the end of the time window, is not that valid. And this trade also I have taken, the main reason was this M5 change of character, man. This M5 change of character equilibrium entry was so clean that it made so much of sense for me to sell. And yeah, even the higher time frame bias here was not one of the cleanest. As you can see, the higher time frame daily fair value gap was filled. So now going on Friday I didn't took the trade. Friday I took a loss again. Let me quickly show you again. So Friday, now I'm looking for buys. Why? This daily fair value gap has been filled, daily demand zone has been mitigated. So going on Friday, I'll be looking for buys to target the buy side liquidity, and on DXY my bias will be clearly bearish to go to the downside. So that is when I was looking for a buy. The H4 time frame is still in this bullish solidified range. As you can see, the whole week, this was a very beautiful week, to be honest. But even though this was a very beautiful week in EU, I traded EU and I was profitable in this week, but GU was literally in this bullish solidified range for the whole week. So you have to be very smart in choosing the pairs you are trading at the moment, whichever are cleaner. So at this point, EU was more cleaner than GU, so it made sense to trade EU. So on Friday, I took a loss again on this buy. My bias was bullish. The M15 demand zone literally got mitigated. This was a beautiful trade. On EU, this was not a... On EU, I would have not traded because of, first of all, news, German prelim CPI, and second of all, there was no demand zone. But on GU, there was a demand zone which was made in previous New York session, London session, as you can see. Not one of the best, but it was a demand zone. So I took this trade here after my Asian low liquidity got swept. And where is it? So this trade I traded after this Asian low liquidity sweep, M15 demand mitigation, M5 change of character, entered at the M5 OTE or equilibrium entry, as you can see, and this was a loss. Losses are part of the game. That's totally fine, right? This trade could have been a winner and I could have journaled it. I have not journaled it because it was a loss, but I have only left with 3 backtesting and I have a whole month to backtest, right? So keeping that in mind, this trade was also a loss. So next time if you see something like this, avoid this loss, right? You can avoid this loss. Also, there was Euro news. So Euro news also affects the GU market, as you can see there, as you know, because they are internally correlated. And yeah, this was a very beautiful week. Got some beautiful trades, lost some trades, but the most important thing is learn, right? Got to learn a lot of things. As you can see, the previous week was very bullish, and whenever the market is just going in one direction, that is when my performance is not that good. But whenever the price is going up down, right, that is when my performance seems to be good. So in this case, this week was a very beautiful week. So now going on next week, tomorrow my bias is clearly bearish on the weekly, targeting this weekly fair value gap. So catch you on the next video. This was a beautiful week to be backtested, and the important callouts I have already put it on my important callout section, so you guys can have a watch there. So yeah, catch you on the next one.